what would you say would be one of the first things to look out for?
Yeah. So before I even begin, something to help give this conversation even more context or more structure for those of you guys who like more structure, I would say is episode 48, the general roadmap to ascension. Okay, that gives you a very specific structure of general things that we tend to experience as we journey up in our frequency resonance rising. Okay. So with that said, for a lot of people, it's going to be different for all of you, okay? But there are general things that can happen, and if you don't have context for what they are, you can just think that you're kind of going a little bit nuts, or like, why am I doing this, or whatever. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah,
right?
that's why it's important.
That's why it's important, just so that you understand what's happening from a bigger perspective, and then you can be like, oh, okay, now I can get the most out of this because I know why this is happening. So one of the first things that starts to happen is that for many people, they start to notice little things shifting, like how they perceive things, right? How much they are not as triggered around the people that used to trigger them or the situations that used to trigger them. Then as they do it more, they start to notice things like their behaviors will start to change, not because they're trying to, but all of a sudden things can shift. Like they'll start to want to purge things. Okay, that's one big thing that starts happening. Like people start wanting to get rid of all this stuff. They don't know they're doing it actually, but they're mirroring what they're experiencing on spirit level, right? Because they're purging on spirit level all these distortion patterns. So all of a sudden now in the physical, they want to get rid of all this crap that's been around them for forever.
That they haven't noticed. Now they see the
it.
crap.
Yeah, and they're just like, get it away from me.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will like purge their closets, purge their homes. I remember one time, I can't remember exactly when in the journey, but I'd done some kind of frequency work thing, and it was like, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden, Chris is like ready to go to bed, and I'm like tearing through our closet, like, trying to like chuck stuff. He's like, do we really need to do this like right now?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly how it is. It's like something comes over you, and you have to throw stuff away.
Yeah.
So my mom, I was just talking to, and she just started.
Yeah.
And she's somebody who has a very hard time letting go. Not quite hoarder. Mom, if you're listening, I'm not. But it's difficult, whether it's food in the fridge or clothes or papers, or because she holds a sentimental value to physical things, and that's for her why it's difficult. So she was just telling me she was going through her eyeshadows that she has had since before I was born, and said I just had to throw them away, and I was just like, you threw them? You didn't even like give them away, which is usually. She just threw it away. And then I myself have experienced that. It's like, again, if anyone listening, it's like something comes over you and you just have to. You're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
You just go, no, this has to go.
Go, yeah.
So that's exciting.
Yeah, it's totally exciting because what you're doing is you're releasing the distortion patterns, and you're starting to become more aware of what is not a frequency resonance match with you anymore, and you don't want it around you. You just don't want it in your space. You don't want it. It's like, why am I holding on to, and I think you said this, like, why am I holding on to this old ratty sweatshirt or something?
Sweater or whatever.
Yeah.
Just, like, whether it's clothes. I've also noticed, aside from clothes, like, I'm trying to think of an example, like pieces of, it's still stuff, but it's things that don't serve me, like they don't have a purpose.
Right.
So it's not just like, I'm holding on because sentimental. Just something, it's almost like you didn't even see it.
Yeah.
And now, like we said, you're seeing things. I'm like, oh, this literally serves zero purpose. Bye. And it's very easy to let go of it, actually.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Which is totally nice. And it's also a mirror for, as we release more of our distortion, that we want to let go of anything that is heavy to us. Right? So as if it doesn't have a function,
that's heavy.
It's heavy.
Holding weight.
Yeah, why are you
density,
holding on to it? Yeah. So you're doing on the physical what you're doing on the spirit. The other thing people do is, so for some people, they lose friendships. Okay, our friends drop away.
That's happened to me too.
Yep. And it's really that you start to clarify and start to see the dynamic between you and the other person, or see things in them and you're like, why am I hanging out with this person so much? Every time I'm with them, I'm depleted, or they just talk forever, and apparently I'm just there listening, and why is this happening all the time? Or whatever it is, right? The dynamic is. Or they just sort of like leave your life, because as your frequency resonance rises, it can make other people uncomfortable. I'm just gonna let everyone know that right now. Okay, as your frequency rises and clarifies, what happens is when you enter someone else's field, you start to agitate their distortion
Yeah,
patterns.
people get triggered by you.
Yeah.
And you're not doing anything.
You're not doing anything.
I'm just standing there.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest feeling. It's not personal.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are new, have not experienced this, okay, unless you're doing something obviously malicious
Right.
or like unconscious or something. I
Right.
mean, like scan to see if you're doing that.
Yeah.
And if you're not, you're just standing quietly or sitting quietly and people are getting triggered around you. That is because their distortion patterns are getting agitated in the clarity of who you are becoming.